So I'll give a couple minutes to speak here for anybody who wants to speak on items not on the agenda. See no takers, we'll just move on to old business.
So this,
I didn't see it. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown.
I was contemplating the response. So I am
Say your name.
Berman Brown, and we are the...
Speak up.
Can't hear you, yeah.
Oh, okay. I am Berman Brown, and we are the Center for Art and Talk. We are social art and music, but we are a supporting resource for the arts and music in Ventura County. And we have a business which is designed to support the arts. It actually creates its own income independently, and therefore, once established, which is what we're looking to get established, it will actually supply a place where musicians can come on a regular basis, where artists can also come on a regular basis. When they sell their art, it gets sold for 70% of what it is that they actually, they get to keep 70% of what it is that they actually sold the piece for. So it's unique in that aspect. But we actually support the arts itself by the membership that we have. And so the concept now is to try and bring in the actual memberships. The idea is to do memberships that will allow the arts itself to be subsidized. And memberships could come from city departments, corporations, and any entity that would actually have people who would benefit from your social experience, which is now what it is we have, that in short enhances the quality of life in every community that we're in. Right now we're in Ventura. Secondly, we Oxnard has the potential of 230,000 people. We have 4 locations in Oxnard. Each one being a supplement, a independently financial resource for artists and musicians. That's the science of the social vision. That's the deal, might as well. Is that okay?
Go ahead and, pass them out, that's fine.
So we'll give you guys, that's up to you. Is that okay?
Sure.
So we're going to...
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a website?
Yes. Give it to the council, corporate council.
Why don't you just tell us how we can contact you?
Okay, so the way to contact us is centerforartandtalk.com, and it is centerforartandtalk.com is our website. A second website that subsidizes ours also is thetalkshop.com, and when you go to centerforartandtalk.com, you'll see that on there too.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have some speaker cards, but I believe they're for agenda items. So we'll go on to old business, which is Cultural Arts Commission status. So, who would like to know? Mr. Winnick.
Yes, last Tuesday's meeting, the mayor, with the input of the council, made the appointments to the Cultural Arts Commission. There are 9 new commissioners, some of whom are here in the room today. We are in the process of putting together an agenda for the first commission period, or the first commission meeting, the organizational meeting. We were originally looking at potential March 11th, but because the appointments got delayed, we weren't able to post that in time. So we're looking at another date, and potentially the last or the fourth Wednesday of the month at 5 o'clock in the council chambers, but we'll confirm that and get that information out to the entire group.
In March, you're talking about March?
March 20, it would be tentatively March 25th at 5 o'clock in the council chambers, but we need to confirm availability. At the meeting, we'll have a number of topics to discuss. I was going to talk to Mr. Fisher about an introduction to the Brown Act for the group. Talk about their mission and their duties under the ordinance adopted by the city council. Talk about putting together a procedures resolution to govern the commission and a number of other things. So we're working on that. Any questions, additional comments?
Mr. Warner, would you like to comment on maybe those who are present that were
Michelle, you want to?
Margaret Cortese,
Margaret.
Deborah DeVries from Cafe Anne, Javier Gomez from Inlepech, Jesus Gonzalez, is he here? I don't think so. Onita Hirata, Autumn Kelly,
She's right here.
hi. Christine Morla from Oxnard College, Susan Smith from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Cesar Perez.
So congratulations to all of you. Thank you for joining us.
Great, no problem. The item here is framework of 501c.
Yes, one of the things we'll be putting on there too is looking at eventually coming up with the framework and necessary paperwork to ultimately create a 501c3, which would allow independent fundraising for the commission acting in their capacity as a nonprofit, which also would allow them to apply for grants that the city as a governmental entity is not permitted to do. So we'll be working on it.
Yeah, and I've been researching that a bit and, have gotten some of the information and I work with the city attorney. Things like how the bylaws have to be established. From what I could gather from my research, the typical time frame for approval is 6 to 9 months. But sometimes it's expedited and can happen in as early as 4 months. And of course, there's several very, very specific IRS forms and California State Attorney General forms, just to, establish that 501c3 status. But it seems like it's all doable. There were some very specific questions that will be, very relevant to this foundation, such as the types of fundraising that are planned and describing some of the organizations that grants will be distributed to, how this foundation will have oversight of the organizations that it distributes any funds to. And of course, it has to have, as I mentioned, its bylaws, its articles of incorporation, the board officers and their duties, the meeting schedule and all
So,
that.
and that's going to be a topic of discussion at the upcoming commission meeting?
As I
There is time?
understand.
We're just going to
Just
the
give the overall
concepts.
concept,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we'll be going into detail.
Okay, sounds great.
Any questions about that? All right, I have no speaker cards on that matter, so let's just get into cultural arts grants. So perhaps we could have a discussion from Michelle, Mr. Winter,
Sure.
I should say Matt, and Michelle, or Ms. Cantor. Even with Michelle.
Sure, your agenda contains the recommended awards from the various review panels for the 3 categories of applicants. And I'd like Michelle to take a few minutes to go through the process that the panels participated in and some of the background that went into their evaluations. So Michelle, you want to do that?
Well, initially, I want to say that these review panelists spent a lot of time and thoughtfulness and didn't do anything in didn't give anything short shrift. They spent a lot of time on their own, first reading the proposals and then spent time at the city offices reviewing them together. And they all got the same instructions from me, which was particularly to consider the content of the proposals and not worry so much about how it might have been written. However, all of the reviewers independently said that that was very important to them, that they found, and these are sort of overarching generic comments from all the reviewers. What about spell check? What about punctuation? They were disappointed overall, other than with the legacy proposals. With the individual artist grants and the emerging organizations, I'd say they were generally not impressed with the way the grants were prepared, although they liked the content of a lot of them. They found that there was too much flowery language. They wanted the story of what the grant was going to accomplish told simply and clearly. Get to the point, make your goal obvious from the beginning, at the very outset. They felt sometimes they had to hunt for the arts component. They didn't find them specific enough and concrete enough. If it said something like art activities, that was insufficient. They wanted to know what kind of art activities, very exactly. And they wanted more demographic information. Instead of saying, attendance will show that we've been effective, they wanted to know how many people, what ages. They wanted to know if your budget was way over the dollar amount that was going to be allocated from the city, at the maximum, where were you getting the additional funds that you outlined in your budget? Are you going to charge admission to events? Do you have donors or other grant sources? They felt that wasn't spelled out. As for artists, they felt that if an artist said they were going to go to other shows of other artists, fine, but they wanted each artist to show what they were creating very specifically in Oxnard. To think of a wide Oxnard audience, not to just be focusing on an audience that you already know. And if you were making a film, let's say, or some other art project, they wanted to know very specifically, how does this address and benefit Oxnard? So those were the broad general comments, and all of the reviewers did note that for a city of this size, the amount of support that we were offering, the dollar amount, was impressive.
So Ms. Cantor, just for my reference, all those comments were given to individual projects, correct, as far as their feedback? Is that something that they made a note of on the application so that moving forward, those individuals who had issues with formatting and or delivery of the information have an idea of what they need to improve on?
Well, I have at my office, and the grantees are welcome to call me. That's why I left my card at the front if they didn't know how to reach me.
All the applicants.
The reviewers'
So there are
comments specific to each grant. In fact, in some cases, they even suggested, have you ever tried to get funding from? And they mentioned some other agencies. So each applicant has some information that I could read to them from the judges. Some judges, one of them was the scribe. In some cases, each judge wrote some comments.
Because I do think it would be beneficial to have possibly the applications or some feedback of why they received certain pointage provided to those applicants so that they understand where they need to improve.
I'm
and
glad
what is
to
it they
read
need
that
to
to
do.
them.
Based on last year's experience, we asked the reviewers to be very specific, so
Yeah.
that they can,
So,
we
I mean,
can
in
help,
addition-
we can help the artist or the organization understand
What it is they need to improve on. And if there can just be, it would be as simple as providing them a copy of their application with the comments. You don't need to do it all, it's just a matter of, hey, here's were some of the comments that were provided, so that moving forward you can be able to better utilize your resources and or the feedback to.
Right. If I can note, as you might have seen, in the individual artist category, the reviewers did not give all the funds allocated. And then in one of the categories, unfortunately, I overlooked, they overspent a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
What's the balance? That was
Probably
not
about
allocated.
10,000, because there was 9,750
Yeah,
in
about-
the individual artist category, and there was 20,000 in that
I think
category.
9,750 is about.
I have public comments, and I've been hearing from a number of people, and we'll get to the public comments in a minute, but I would like to just review a couple of things. One is, I personally, and neither was Councilwoman Padilla involved in any assessment. That's not our role here to be the judges of the applicants or the grant qualifications. It's kept pretty strictly away from us, and I like it that way. The other thing is that we do have an appeal process that we discussed last year. We're going to talk about that because I know a number of people aren't happy about it. I would like to say that we do have some funds to set aside in case the appeal process, once established and acted on, if there are some changes. So let's, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I just had one quick question before we get into public comments. Ms. Cantor, just if you could maybe provide some feedback, those individuals who did not qualify to apply, right, that's one of the criteria to make sure that they were eligible to even apply for some of these grant monies, that was also noted. If there were, was that, I mean, that's my question, was that noted? If there were any applicants who didn't qualify because of the minimum 3-year requirement or 1-year requirement?
There was only one group that the reviewers determined
Was not eligible?
was not eligible.
Okay, I just wanted to.
And I think it's noted on there and that they didn't get any funding.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that that was something that was taken into account, that if for some reason there was a group and an individual that wasn't eligible to apply, that there was a need of that as to why.
I do see 2 projects that were not funded at all.
Right, one was not funded, well, 2, I think, 2 projects were not funded at all because they deemed them, not successful enough. And one emerging was not funded at all because they felt it didn't meet the requirements of the grant.
Sounds good, thank you.
I've also received several requests for information about the reviewers, and I would like to just review that. I don't think we're going to let people know how to contact them at this point, correct?
No.
It's kind of hard to get people to review anyway, but I do want to place some trust in our staff to find people to review these who do not have a conflict of interest. And this time, absolutely none of the reviewers had any connection to a grant, correct? Okay. Let's get into public comment. My first card is from Debbie DeVries.
Okay. I just wanted to talk about a couple of points about the review process. First of all, I think there's room for improvement in the surface review of how things work. The first part, I know respectfully that Michelle just said that the reviewers were questioning the English grammar and the spell check, and the other, the age of the participants and how many. I don't think, I'm an English professor, but I don't think the purpose of this art application is to have someone reviewed for their grammar writing skills. And if it is, it should be stated in the application. It should say, you're going to be marked down and how many points if you have issues with your spelling or your grammar. In addition, if we wanted to have the age and how many are going to participate when we were asking for the funding, we should have asked the question in the application. It shouldn't be a secret between the reviewers and the applicants. So that's another area that we need to look at. I'm very seriously concerned that we didn't spend all the money that we had there, just because it seems like the judgment was made to withhold some of the money so that there would be money left over. And I don't understand about that process, but if it were going to be that way, that should have been explained ahead of time.
Can I just comment that the
Yeah.
reviewers were not,
Aware.
their awards were simply based on merit. There was no instruction to hold back, so there could be a reallocation or use
Okay.
for appeal purposes. That was not the case
Okay,
at all.
thank you. But the piece that I would say is, then how did the numbers compare to last year? They're dramatically different. For many of the organizations whom I know probably wrote roughly the same basic content, followed the same basic rules that last year were awarded double or more than double of that amount. And there's quite a large range, and I wanted to know how we knew ahead of time roughly what scores would be awarded what amount of money. Again, that should be something that's stated ahead of time, roughly how the criteria there. If we, in the legacy, we had 4 25-point areas, which I had questioned beforehand because I thought we were overemphasizing some and not even mentioning a some of the other issues. But just given there were 425, my group received a 200. So how does that happen that you go from 100 to 200? And even that should have been explained ahead of time. If it's okay, I just have one other specific one, and that is the Cafe on Egg helped a lot of groups in preparing their reports. They had roughly the same basic content areas for every single one. The ranges in the scores range from 60 to 200. And so my question is, how were the reviewers given the guidance of first of all, how could that happen, that there would be such a wide range with roughly the same arrangement and the same content, not content, but the same basic organization? And then how were the reviewers instructed to grade that? Because it seems like if you lucked out to be in one group, you were liberally awarded points, and if you were lucked out to be in another one, you weren't. And so that's that whole issue that I brought up repeatedly. For example, the statement that says for financials, they have to be reasonable and appropriate. If we're not saying if you only have 2 comments about it, it's worth a subtraction of 10 points. If you have 3 comments, it's only, it's worth a subtraction of 5 points. We didn't get that as applicants, which we could do. And we definitely don't have a logical model linearly of how that happened. So again, we need tremendous improvement in the way we review it.
Okay, I'm going to take a pause here and ask Michelle to comment on the scoring issues.
Madam Chair, we might be able to get all of the comments, and maybe there's some general questions throughout, and then maybe Michelle can address them as a whole.
Okay, but I do want,
Okay.
I asked about that earlier, so I think I'd like to have you.
Well, first I would say for all of Deborah DeVries' comments, I think when the commission gets formed, this is something they might want to work on refining. But the issues that are raised, I don't see them as issues that seem to come up with the reviewers. I said to them, and it was in their notes, that the grammar and the spell check and such, it should not be valued, it's the content. But they felt strongly that the grammar and the spell check and the cut and paste and even some of the CDs that were given didn't match the grant application. But when the variation in scores, I believe, is based strongly on the content of what was proposed in the grant application, what that organization or artist said they were going to do. The reviewers did have an issue with the fact that so many of the grants were boilerplate and seemed to be cut and paste.
Thank you. All right, we'll go on and keep track of these questions, so perhaps all at once. I have a card here, and I'm sorry, I can't read it, who the person is. It says, but the address is 100 Sadiqa. Is that you? Okay. All right, so did you put in 2 cards? Okay. Okay.
Okay. First of all, we'd just like to say to Legacy, congratulations to everybody who got it. And God bless you guys for blessing Juneteenth, who Jalen and ourselves helped bring a lot of art to that program. And they had a wonderful time last year. Congratulations to them and the rest of you guys. One thing, when we were doing my wife called me in the room and we were speaking on emerging, and emerging said that you had to be a 501c3 to emerge. Now, with that right there, we ain't no sticks, but the thing is we're tired. We're tired of seeing people getting things that's not from the city. We're tired of seeing people getting things that haven't put 100% in this city like KNS Rockstar has. Which, to go and tell you, while we're talking about it, we just received, KNS Rockstar, we just received the African American Achievement Award in Arts and Entertainment for Oxnard and through California, period. Now, when it comes to this, we're talking about award winners, young black award winners that's here putting in major time. Now, we just got 5 gigs that we're giving our time to, 5. Which is going to be 6, and one of them is the children volunteers, and Ms. Lucy, who's having the international empowerment. We taking all the equipment and everything. We're looking at this emerging, and we're looking at everybody that we know, and we know they don't have 501c3s. We're the only ones that's probably even close to signing a 501c3. This right here is tampering with city funds to us. How do you go get somebody named Cypher International, and they ain't even from Oxnard, California. They from Los Angeles. They got $3,000 of Oxnard's money. You got more people on here. I don't even want to get into it. All you got to do is just go look at these people's things, and I'm wondering, KNS Rockstar tried to play by the rules. We went by the rules. We wrote a great grant. We showed everything. You're looking over our work. You're missing all of our work. How is it that everybody, all these big time people like Louis Gossett Jr., Richard Roundtree presented us with awards like this, and y'all seem to miss everything that we done for this city. Went into the schools with our own money. Going to festivals with our own money. Going helping Multicultural with our own money. And you give us $300? Are you serious? You giving people $3,000, $5,000 that didn't even come to the Strawberry Festival. This little lady right here can tell you, we were the only ones up there pulling in people, showing our work, out there teaching people how to line dance, didn't even get hired. The Strawberry Festival, we was the only ones that showed up with one more person. Nobody showed up. We went to Plaza Park, took all kind of t-shirts, CDs, candy, gifts for the kids, food truck event, and everybody else sitting down showing little pieces. You getting $15,000. How are we out there out showing you, and you want to give us $300 for our work? That's to spit in our face. That's showing no love towards somebody who's trying to raise the youth in our community. And it's just like you sticking your middle finger up at me and be like, one, you ain't a part of my circle. Because everybody right here, when you look at this emerge, those are clicks.
Okay, we need you to wrap up. Everybody get serious?
I'm done. I'm just telling you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go on to Julie Medina.
And just a quick point of reference. From my understanding of the RFP, the Emerging Artists Group did not have to have 501c3
Correct, they're supposed to be working towards that.
working towards it, but it was not a requirement. In the newest RFP, it was stated that it did not require to have 501c3 status. The only ones that required that were the legacy group, correct? Michelle? So there's also, and I just want to make sure that people understand that there's an importance in making sure that whatever you submit clearly articulates the quality and expertise that you bring to the community. If that's not articulated in the application, then there's no way for a reviewer to know what it is, the impact that your project has on the community. And I know that there have been some comments with respects to the formatting of what was submitted. However, that does take importance because in making sure that you are clear and concise in your message, that needs to be properly articulated in your application. If not, then the reviewer won't know, especially if you want to continue on with a very objective process, that if it's not included in your application, then you're getting judged for what you include in your application, and the thoroughness and conciseness and completeness is what you turn in. So I wanted to make that clarity. It was my understanding that emerging organizations do not require, is that correct, Michelle?
That's discussed.
And we discussed it in previous meetings, so I just wanted to make that clarification.
We're going to get into the appeal process after this, so, we have, go ahead.
Sure, but you called Julie.
I know I did, I blew it here, so please.
Okay, well, just to add on to that, I did make that clear, and I made everything clear. I made visuals clear, I included DVD, photos, newspaper articles, all that's always included with everything that I do. Last year, when we tried to emerge with Cafe on A, we were pulled out and put into individual, okay? So there's another conflict there. So these things need to be, they need to be taken care of. Each year is something different with the review board, with the judges. I need to know the background of the person that reviewed my application. Do they have an artist history? Do they have an artist background? And what is it that they were judging me on, which you said is available, which I will definitely take a look at. And I emailed you, but I didn't get a reply. And I haven't gotten a reply from anyone up here, in which I've been waiting for. So I want the information that I did request, because that's imperative to know. If these people that are reviewing us don't have an artist background or an artist history, it makes no sense. It makes no sense to me at all. This will be our third year receiving something each year. Our grant award is going down. The funds are going down as we're expanding, and we're adding on community works, artistry, and community service. But it's always music and arts, culture. Everything we do has to do with arts. So if I'm growing that and expanding that in my community, why is my funding that's being granted getting lower and lower? It doesn't make sense. And that's all.
Thank you. Julie Medina?
Hi, everybody. I've been working with farm-working at-risk women for the past 3 years now. And again, to support Debbie and KNS, I think that the fact that it's been kept a secret, not knowing who's reviewing our grants should be, we should bring everything to the table. I think keeping up information like who's reviewing my grant as a community member, as a community person, applying for something that we're all working for. I think we should know what kind of experience, background does the reviewing board have. And I also, if I could get Michelle, the email where I could get information about how do you, last year I received between 200 points, and this year I received 70 points. So I am concerned, and one of the persons that I want to know what was based on that, why. If I could have that feedback, I'll be more understanding. So please, if you could follow up with that.
Thank you. Jim Gilman?
Yes, good afternoon. First of all, I support all that's been said, and particularly Debbie's inquiries. I do want to thank you for the hard work that's been done. Staff actually, worked with many of us to guide us along. It's a tough process. I feel, empathetic and supportive. I know the work of KNS. I'm sad to see that they got only $300. I'll say that. I'm hoping that they will appeal, and if there's anything that we can do collectively, I will support that. But I also want to point out, even with the BayPAC application, a lot of us, like Cafe On A, helped a lot of the emerging and small organizations to do their grants. And I was very happy for BayPAC because I basically worked with them to submit their application. But then when I see that, organizations that went from 60 to 200 and had a lot of the similar sort of information, particularly they relied on the fiscal sponsor to, some of that's just boilerplate information that is included in all the grants, but the actual scoring seemed to be somewhat subjective, and so I'm concerned, for example, a community that's not being well served is the Asian Pacific Islander community. And so one of our partners, submitted, they've been doing things on their own, and I'm talking about the West Oxnard proposal. But at this time, I was trying to bring them into more visibility to be part of Arts in Public Places. They got a 60 and got 0, but then there's other organizations that got 60 and got funded. And it's not a lot of money. I think it's more of trying to be inclusive and to touch the various populations and demographics that make up Oxnard. And I felt that that was something that I was concerned about. And I would like that revisited by staff. I did send, all of you an email, and that person couldn't be here because they're running their business. But they've done a lot, not just for Asian Pacific Islander. I'm talking about Vin Lai and their family that's been here for 30-something years. They work with a lot of us in this room and have done things, opening up their house and their business to many of us like nobody else has, in the community. And they do a lot of events. But again, I think it would be a missed opportunity not to work with them. And so I'm here to speak on behalf of them, but also to say that it's been a difficult job, I know, and you can't satisfy all of us, but I'm hoping that there's some room to at least spread a little bit more resources around the table. Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate that, call me and I can tell you specifically what the issues were.
Okay.
Well, so the grant applicant should be the one calling, correct? So for those of you who know people who didn't receive funding, and you're, such as you, Jim, you're speaking on behalf of this other group, please get in touch with them. Let's review the appeal process.
Well, I don't think the committee members had firmly established it, but what staff wanted to suggest was that those who wanted to make an appeal should write a letter to the committee
I'll let them know that.
within 30 days. Was that?
Well, I think we need to do a much shorter period of time, so we conclude this and take it to the council.
Okay.
So I would like to suggest that we do it by the end of this week, so we can keep this on track to take the awards as soon as possible. And then we would convene a special meeting of the committee to entertain those appeals.
So, and I also like to make sure that whatever appeals process we do have in place, it's an appeals on the basis of very concrete items. So whether there was a scoring issue and or the application was judged incorrectly, it was more, so I do want to make sure that just because you say, hey, I deserve more monies, is not a justifiable reason to appeal. You need to appeal on the basis of, according to what was submitted, and in reference to my grant, here are some of the issues that I'd like to bring up. But it should be in reference to individual grants, not in comparison to other grants. Because I do think that making sure that we keep going and making the process equitable, that each grant is judged on their own individual value of what they submitted. So I do want to make sure that whoever does write an appeal, it's in reference to your grant alone, and some issues with maybe some formalities that the reviewers didn't necessarily, you felt they made a mistake on. And I know that there were, and I'll just give some general comments with respects to some of the comments that were made. I know that the process did change from last year, mostly because there was a big push on this committee's part to change it so that it was more transparent and more of an equitable process. So those individuals who said, well, why is it that my score and or the process was different or there was a change? Well, it's because there was a big push on our part to make sure that we improved for the better, and I do feel that the process was improved for the better. Just because the point range wasn't necessarily as last year's doesn't necessarily mean that there wasn't a fair process that took place. I know that that different categories had different pointage assigned to them, so that might have been the result of it. So again, I want to make sure that people understand that the process did change from last year's. And there was a change because we as a committee felt that there needed to be improvements made. And I do think that this year's process does reflect the changes that were made in order to improve the process. So those were some general comments that I wanted to make. And I do thank everybody who applied and congratulate those who were awarded.
I totally agree with those comments, Councilwoman. I do have a couple of speeches, but I'll let you.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, as I look at the calendar, that we give applicants until the 12th. We have a business on the 12th, next Thursday. the opportunity to appeal, that will give them enough time to talk to Michelle, and find out more about what the panel's thoughts were regarding their particular application, and then enough time to submit that, and then perhaps a special meeting of the committee on March 30th, Monday, March 30th, that if you're available.
And so many more.
I am.
I am also.
Point of clarification, if I could I just ask how the point, just basically on the legacy, it was 25 points each, but it shows, and 4 of them, and it shows that it was like double. So the question is, how were the points changed from the application?
So, and if that's an issue with respects to your funding allocation,
It's not for mine, actually,
I see
but
that.
for, just in general.
okay.
I want to call on Jessica and then Margaret. Say hi to Amanda.
I just had a question about the appeal application, which she had already answered. What sort of details do we need to put into the application?
You know, I recommend that if you have a problem, if you don't like the result, that you contact Michelle, get clear information, and then as quickly as you can do an appeal. Because I see Margaret, and then I see Ann back there. Did you want to chime in?
Well, just
Excuse
to
me.
clarify with Ms. Cantor, the materials are available, the scoring materials for an applicant are available for review through your office?
Yes. And just to mention again, about the legacy organizations, 200 was the highest score possible. And for the emerging also, 200 was the highest score possible. And for the individual artist grants, 180 was the highest score possible.
And I will make a note that, just again, there were changes from last year's application. So if for some reason you didn't reread the RFP, there was changes made to some of the requirements, then that's something that moving forward, you have to make sure and are conscious of that. Just because there was an RFP last year doesn't mean that that same RFP was the one that was issued this year, because there were a few very concrete changes that did result in, moving forward in a very transparent, more equitable way. And I know that at one point in one of the meetings we had, Ms. Cantor did mention who the reviewers were going to be and what their backgrounds were. So that was also made public.
Without saying names.
Without saying names, she did mention what type of professions they were in, and it was a very broad range of art-oriented individuals, and if they weren't art-oriented, they were involved in some sort of form of municipal type of work. So I do want to say that that was also very much disclosed in the last meetings that we've had. So we did try our best this time to make sure that individuals knew what was expected of them and that they were given a fair shot at whatever type of application they decided to submit.
And Ms. Cantor, just to be sure, you will send notice to all the applicants of this deadline for filing the
Yes. I'd say send it to the entire
Yes.
mailing list, so miss any step. Margaret Cortese, Anna, and earlier Javier had your hand up, so.
I would like to ask Ms. Cantor to please give us the feedback in writing, not verbal. That may make more work for you, but...
There's no way we can accommodate that.
Pardon?
There's no way we can accommodate that request.
She can't
We
make
can-
a copy?
We can provide copies of the forms if that's what you're requesting.
I'm asking for copies of the evaluation comments, not verbal, but
No, we will be happy to do that if requested.
that's what I'm asking.
Anna back there, and then Javier, if you still have a comment. Anna?
Well, you say call Michelle. I have called and have emailed, but I have yet to receive any response
Well, I
back.
haven't been in Oxnard since Tuesday.
That was, excuse me. And I also agree with what they said, Jessica KNS and I'm looking at the application, and under requirements, it does not clearly state that you can apply under fiscal sponsorship. That was only said here if they were here for the meeting. And if they've been out touring and working in schools and doing what they do in the community, and some of the other people, you didn't know. But the way it reads, it's under requirements. It does not say anything about fiscal sponsorship. in regards to the demographics and some of the items that were said, that should have been put in the criteria of the application. The way it reads, the application reads.
That actually makes sense because just like they're looking for certain criteria, I apologize, but the criteria that was put in the RFP and that's what we went by and that's what we're turning in, then that's what they should
You'll be
be.
able to make your appeal based on that.
Okay.
The only comment that I would make would be with the concern of maybe before any submissions, maybe in the future, maybe there should be an opportunity for any of the grant writers to present their grants to Michelle or to staff and say, you know, how does my grant look? Can you give me some suggestions of improvement? Not necessarily, I mean, even for all the ones that went to Cafe NA, I mean, you should have them be second reviewed where maybe they might tell you, tweak it here because your emphasis is too much on this area. When the reviewers are gonna look at that, they might misconstrue what you wrote. So maybe I know that we had one workshop, but maybe an opportunity for them to say, just give me a call and we'll sit down, review your grant.
If I may mention, we actually did do that. There were some grants that we got that Dan O'Friel and I were looking at, and we were like, which page goes with this? They were so like not collated well, and we couldn't tell which CD went with which grant, and we called them in, and they sat down and resorted their pages and their papers and handed it in, and we did. That was the only case that we had to do that. And we had them come in and shift through their papers and staple it properly and match the CD up with the application because it was so haphazard.
And I will make mention, there was a workshop that individuals were allowed to come and actually encouraged to come to make sure that they were applying under the proper category and to make sure that they qualified given the stipulations in the RFP. So that was made an opportunity. Whether individuals took advantage of that, that's a different story.
No, what I mean,
Maybe we'll do a better job next year of encouraging
Yes.
people to do that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, just as a point of.
We're happy to do that.
I do want to recommend that we look into some kind of a formal training for grant writing. I brought this up because I do think a lot of people could use a little more formal training instead of just learning by now. I want to mention I have a meeting with city manager at 2:30. He's on a really tight timeline. I have to meet with him, so I like to get through our business. I know we have a lot of bugs to get through, and they're coming, a work in progress, so appreciate everybody. Unless you really have something urgent, can we move on to the next item?
Well, I moved to approve the revenue.
Is that what we need to do, or can we wait till the appeals?
Oh, so we're going to approve the entire revenue.
So did you say you have a conflict on the 30th?
Yes, I do have a conflict on the 30th. I'm good on the just council. Oh, no, sorry. I'm sorry.
23rd, I'm sorry.
23rd, yes, I'm good.
Which time? What time are you talking about, 30?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Does not work.
April 6th?
April 6th.
Okay, so that's
okay
fine.
for me.
April 6th.
Are you still going to issue the checks that were awarded and not being appealed on April 6th?
On April 6th?
We'll have to go to council.
So Matt, my question is, just for the efficacy of maybe moving forward with those who, there aren't any issues, no, we can approve.
Because we don't know where it's going to go. I don't know who's happy and who isn't.
Well, I'm assuming that, yeah, I don't think we're taking monies away from those who were suggested and/or recommendations that were provided. It'd be a matter of additional monies to those who request them on the appeals. I'm not,
That if then we have to go to the council twice, right? That's a problem.
well, no, I'm just, because the recommended amounts are within the $150,000. So we would only have to go to council for those who appeal and are above that $150,000 threshold.
No, we have to go to council for the whole list.
Oh, for the whole list, I thought they already approved.
They approve the total sum, but not the specific grants.
You appropriated the money you did award.
I see.
So
Okay.
sorry, everybody, you have to do that. So April 6th, special meeting, cultural arts right here, 1:30, okay? And then we talk about doing some kind of formal training, that's maybe new business. So let's go on. Schedule for award approval, so we can't really do anything until the appeals process is completed. New business?
No new business. We'll put the grant training on the next agenda.
Okay. Cultural arts fund balance?
Yes, the fund balance now is $142,862.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm bringing the whole issue of is there no way to be able to approve those individuals' allocations as designated now without, because it would go under a consent agenda item, it wouldn't be an item of discussion on council. So we wouldn't be able to approve what was designated now, at which point the appeals come in, and then have that put on the subsequent agenda item as an item of, I mean, because I would hate for grantees that have been awarded, took the time to thoroughly write a successful grant, for them to be held up for another month, given, moving forward. I mean, the appeals process is the recommendation from, so, I mean, I would move forward with just approving the grants were recommended at this point, at which point we would then make an additional request from council if there was any overages on the appeals.
What's the complication of that? We could do that?
We would have to wait till March 12th to see who's appealing their award. No.
We would award,
We're not taking money away.
No, we go to council on the 24th.
so.
All right, I'd go along with that.
So I motion to approve those grantees that were recommended by the review panel, independent of whatever appeals process takes place, because that might take some time given what the comments are.
All right, I'd go along with that. Let's just say it takes more work for staff to do it twice, but we understand.
So those who do not plan to appeal, and I formally will not appeal, we'll let you know that we are not appealing.
No, we're gonna send the award recommended by the panel
The list.
to everyone, regardless of whether you're appealing or not. If you're granted an appeal, you'll be sent a second check.
There you go. All right, that's the motion, that's approved. All right, so we're on to future items. I don't know if there's anything we need to take care of there. I have no more speaker cards on any of that.
Future items, if we can, for the Youth Arts Festival, that's an idea that we came up with. We met with the city manager. We will have an update in June as far as that is concerned.
Okay.
And if we can start putting PNS Rockstar right there, so that we have an idea.
Okay.
Festival stems from. Thank you.
All right, so we're on to committee business. I'll only say that today is Read Across America Day or Week, and I was in a couple of schools here at Kamala and at McKenna, read to very bright-eyed, eager, young residents of Oxnard. It was a lot of fun, it was great. There's a foreign film today. I plan to go to it later. So anyway, that's my committee business.
No committee business, just congratulations to all those awardees. And looking forward to be able to expand the pot so that more individuals can apply and be awarded funds for the subsequent years. I'm very excited. The commission has been formed. I do thank those individuals who applied, and moving forward, I do think that we'll be able to really expand on our city's formal support of the art with the commission in place.
Okay, great. This is the time for group announcements, and I'd like to see if I could be excused while we do that, because I have this appointment upstairs. So, is that okay? All right, so go ahead with your group announcements. I know a lot of these are happening. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I just wanted to make an announcement that the Ventura County Community Foundation has a grant writing class from 9 to 12 on the 5th of March. So if you want to go to their website, you can get more information. I think it's what, $40 or something like that, I think is what you were charging. The Ventura County Community Foundation has a grant writing class.
March
going on.
5th.
March 5th, right, check.
9 to 12.
We're actually looking at having them special training. One of the options will be with that for anyone that's interested in the arts community here. And then the city, we would pay for that out of it.
There's also a grant writing seminar here?
We're looking into that possibility.
So that's still a possibility, guys. I'm of the belief that if your organization, it's in your own interest to get that training on your own back. So I know that we as a city would be more than happy to offer some workshops. However, I'm not sure that's within the purview of this governing board in arts and global places. So again, that's a discussion we can probably have out in the open with the other co-chair of this board. But grants are very broad, and there are a lot of them out there. And I would suggest that if you are looking for some additional funding, you really take advantage of some great grant training opportunities such as the one at BCCO.
If I can mention in addition to that, I know Inla Ketch received a grant through the California Arts Council for traditional arts in California. And there are some other grant deadlines coming up, and I believe Dr. DeVries from Cafe Ane is making application for some of those California Arts Council grants.
With Ana Carrillo and the local impact and the Jumpstart one. And
the local impact is very specifically tied to some of the arts activities done in Oxnard, because it's about underserved communities and bringing arts to underserved communities. So the deadlines are coming up, and I'd be glad to help anybody with it.
There is a grant for professional development for independent artists and for organizations from $750 to $3,000 through the California Arts Council. You don't need to do the California Data Project. You don't need to do matching funds. They're there for that purpose, to develop the arts within your area. And anybody can apply.
Jessica, and then any other announcements that we want to take? We'll take Jessica, Javier, KNS, and then Joe.
So my name is Jessica, also known as Jalen. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a hip hop artist. On March 21st, there's going to be a hip hop event called Kings of the 805, and it is going to be at the El Rodeo Community Center, 451 West Wainini Road. I don't know if you guys know who Wild Child is, but he's actually an Oxnard native from here, and he made it very big in the hip hop community. He's been touring all over the world, Germany, just all over Europe. I'm going to be opening up for him March 21st, and I'm the only female on the lineup. Yeah. Yes, if you guys can, I will send you guys the flyers so you guys, if you guys know any other hip hop artists or anybody that's interested in the hip hop community, come invite them. And it's an all ages event also.
Congratulations.
On the 28th, I guess this is the second annual Wall of Tears celebration of Children's Day. And they're going to be having a parade out of the Plaza Park around the community just to draw awareness. It's the Walk of Tears, and it's to celebrate youth, and it's going to be a variety of entertainers there performing, and as well as our center will be performing mariachi music and folklorico dancing. The other half of our community's cultural heritage. Along with that, on March the 20th, at the Tomas's Cafe, they're going to be bringing in a group of students from Oaxaca, to partake at I guess at Oxnard College. They're going to be going to Oxnard College. So they're coming in and we'll be performing for them there as well. And if you haven't seen my Facebook page, this year we're excited to introduce a genre of music that is very, very much alive in Texas. It's called norteño music, northern music. Here in Oxnard, you see these men carrying these big talaloches, which is the bass and an accordion and a bajo sexto. And so they parade the streets, and we're introducing it into our youth. I have about 15 kids between the ages of 6 and even some of the parents are involved learning norteño music. So we're fusing the norteño music with our jarocho style of music, which is a Veracruz regional music that blends in the heart into the mariachi group. And we're fusing it all together as one genre, and that is mariachi, jarocho, and norteño all together. So look for some of our shows, and we'll be showcasing that at this event with maybe about 30 or 50 kids performing mariachi music and jarocho, just to bring the light of the heritage of this community.
KNS, I believe, and then Jim.
Are We Busy movement has taken off T-shirts and selling CDs and all, but it's going to start up in Northern California. We're going to start in Northern California. We're going to come all the way back down through the Central Coast. Then we stop in Oxnard, which is going to be one of the shows. Miss Lucy, who's doing an international empowerment show. And then we get the Children Volunteers. Then we go to San Diego for one of the biggest things in our lives, which might be a record contract, which will be in front of the Urban, it's called the Urban Fest. That's where all the record labels come out and all of the publishing companies come out to pick their artists that they want to give their money to go on about their lives. And that's something that we're teaching the kids in the schools, how to accompany dreams. That's the name of it. We busy school tour, accompany dreams. Then we go to Los Angeles. We'll be in Los Angeles. We're going to be with Magic Johnson, Warren G, a lot of people like that to sit down and talk about how can we help kids conquer their dreams and get this thing moving. Oxnard, we really need to get on our kids. I just witnessed a shooting, and I've never seen that in my life. And it's just empowered me to do more things. Right now, with our company Dream School Tour, we're going to walk through Colombia and knock on the doors of every person that lives over there and show that we love them in some type of way. We're going to all put We Busy. I witnessed a young man laying on the ground, got shot, and he was holding his stomach. Then I witnessed another kid that was in a corner that was dead. He died the other night, and I started crying, and I didn't know what to do. And that's how we came about with the Stop the Bullying School Tour and Company Drink. So we're starting from Northern California. If you guys want to come out and see the show, we're going to be over here with Miss Lucy. We're bringing artists from LA, and it's going to be a great time.
Where is that going to be here? Where?
Lucy? Miss Lucy? Right there in Cafe on A.
Okay.
Yeah, downtown.
That's like, I just wanted to.
And then the Volunteers, which we'll be bringing out artists to show the hip hop R&B heritage.
And also March 5th, there's a city
Oh, yeah.
forum that we'll be at with the Oxnard Police Department in the city of Oxnard at the PAC Center. That's from 5:30 to 8:30. So everybody's welcome.
Oh, and just quick more announcements, if you don't have announcements.
Can I give a quick minute, because I gotta go.
Yes.
In 45 minutes, we have a great film from West Africa. It's a great director from West Africa. His name is Abdurrahman Sasaki. You want to hear some music? Come and see this one. The beautiful film is up for Academy Award. It was up. The first film from Mauritania that was up for Academy Award at 3:30 and 6:30.
Hey, Kathy on it?
No, at the.
No, the theater, December 14th.
Very quickly, this is on grants, potential grants. Some of you are aware that I'm a chair of the Reducing Disparities Project, State of California, Office of Health Equity. Actually, some folks in the room, a part of our video, we focused on young black males, Ki was in there. Well, I just want to announce, the state has $15 million that they're going to appropriate for the 5 priority populations to reduce racial and ethnic disparities in mental health. And while you think mental health is not associated with art, music, dance, fitness, we all know that it is. I'd love to have people in this room, maybe we can do a workshop, Debbie and I, at the cafe. Those RFPs are going to begin to come out, I heard last week, the next 45 to 60 days. And if you're working with African American, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, Native American, LGBTQ, we can give you some guidelines on how to apply for those community-defined practices in people seeking wellness and health. You know, and I know a lot of the approaches that we take are pathways to healing and you know, eliminating violence and trauma. I think these might be some leveraging opportunities to fund some of the activities in this room, you know. So Debbie and I get together and we'll start doing some workshops, you know, to kind of situate your organizations and more so the collaborative effort, because it's going to be hard for one entity to be funded, but on a collaborative effort with a strong lead sponsor, I think you might be able to get some funds there. And then the other thing that I'd like to mention is Deb was involved with another project called Roads Fest, and I'd like to have you give just a quick FYI on what to look for down the road.
August 22nd, we're partnering up with Oxnard College to bring what we call the Fender Roads Fest, the artists that play the Fender Roads. There's a major story behind how the Fender Roads got started by the military. But we're collaborating with Oxnard College to bring some artists, jazz artists. We're pretty much close to signing for Patrice Rushy, and we got a few other artists we're trying to bring August 22nd to Oxnard College. And we're part of that week, we're going to teach some of the kids at Oxnard College, probably from any college, meet and greet with some of the local artists, some of the artists that are coming, and have a session to teach them all about question and answer they can ask up and coming artists. And some of these artists are in high demand, and we're negotiating with them to get them here. And so there'll be more, I'll put out more, but it's a planning session right now, and we're pretty excited. First time we're ever trying to bring such a major group of artists for jazz in Oxnard Performing Arts Center. And Oxnard Performing Arts Center College, at the college, has agreed to let us use that right now. We're still in negotiating with them to do that.
Any other comments? Okay, Debbie and Don, last.
Yeah, I was just announcing for a program that Anna is going to be doing at the Cafe Anne on, again, March 21st during the daytime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be working with farm worker and homeless, and we're showing a wonderful, premiering a documentary that hasn't ever been seen. So it's going to be an exciting day using art and video and great company.
All right, if there aren't any other announcements, thank you guys for being here, and look forward to